Welcome to the Insight Podcast. Today, it's an Ask Me Anything episode. So recently I released episode 100 of the Insight Podcast, and to celebrate, I decided to share on social media that you could send in your questions and I would answer as many of them as possible. It was cool because the first time I did this, I think I got about 4 questions or something, because the Ask Me Anything episode was about 15 minutes long, something like that. But this time, as a kind of a reflection of the growth of the show and my following, I guess, there are a lot more questions, a wider range of questions. So I really appreciate all of you that sent a question in, and I'm going to get through as many as possible now. So to begin with, the first one was around motivation. How do I motivate myself to keep exercising, keep working out and staying active? And I guess I'm going to give a bit of an annoying answer to this one, because very rarely do I need to motivate myself to exercise. I have found the types of exercise that I love doing, that I really enjoy. I love going for a run. I love lifting weights in the gym. I love intense sessions at the gym, whether it's running and then body weight workouts, that kind of thing. And so very rarely do I need to hype myself up to do it, because I really enjoy it. But of course, having said that, there are some days when the sofa looks a lot more inviting than the gym, and I do have to have a bit of a word with myself. And those are the times when I think about, well, what will future Sam thank me for doing? So what will Sam tomorrow thank me for doing? What will Sam in a week's time, in a month? What will the Sam that's working towards that goal of finishing a half marathon or getting a new Hyrox PB, whatever it is, what will they thank me for doing? And so I connect with that, and then that usually gives me the motivation to get up off the sofa and get moving. But also the fact that, of course, I know that I'm going to feel better once the session is finished. So it's just an hour and a half out of my day, and I know once it's finished that when I do sit back down on the sofa with a big bowl of, I don't know, stir fry or whatever it is, and putting on my favorite program or the latest documentary, that I will just feel that much more good and satisfied if I've done a good workout. So that all helps. Linked to that, I had a question: what's your favorite exercise to de-stress? And of course, exercise for me plays a big role in helping me manage stress, manage anxiety, but I don't think there's one in particular that has any more of an effect than another. I think they all play a part. They all work for me. A run, lifting weights, an intense session at the gym, boot camp, whatever it is, it all helps me stay on top of stress and anxiety. I think just as long as you're getting the heart rate up, getting a bit of a sweat on, leaving enough time to do it as well, have it at least 10, 15 minutes, because I think that's the amount of time for me that it takes me to kind of get out of my head and to be more focused on what I'm doing and fully present in the workout, the run, whatever it is. So yeah, I don't think it really matters what the approach is. I just think allow yourself enough time to do it and make sure it's maybe a certain amount of intensity, and that's what can help alleviate some of that stressful feeling, which of course just comes with living in this crazy world that we live in. And final question that's linked to exercise and activity was, someone asked, what goals do I have and what challenges have I got coming up? So the next one coming up is the Birmingham Half Marathon. That's next month. Looking forward to that. Probably some of my friends, family are doing it as well. So that's always a really cool way to spend a Sunday morning. The next Hyrox that I've got booked in is Birmingham. So that would be great to do it in my home city. It's been a while since I've done it in Birmingham, so that would be great. Those are 2 things I've got booked in, but I would like to do more. I would like another challenge to do. I'd love to do a partner Hyrox or a partner workout of any kind. So anyone listening that wants to partner up with me, please let me know. And also, I'd like to do something big as well. I'd like to do something that isn't just a physical challenge, but also a mental challenge as well. So something like maybe a 24-hour race, a 24-hour hike, something like that, where you've got that added element of, it's not just the physical side, but it's also lack of sleep. It's also just a long, hard slog that you've just got to get through, and you've got to show some mental toughness as well. I'd really like to do something like that. So again, if anyone listening has got any ideas of what I could enter, what's accessible, what I could try, then please let me know, because I'd be really interested. Okay. Next question is, how do I manage myself when I'm around people, I'm just getting the wording of the question right, that are triggering that you can't avoid? I think was how the question was worded. So how do I manage your emotions, whatever, regulate when you are having to constantly come into contact with people that are getting you back up, I guess, that are triggering for you? This is something I can speak to about from experience. It's something that I've talked about on the podcast before. I think past work colleagues, adults, a year or two ago, I was definitely going through this. All I can do is talk about my experience. And for me, it was, I remember going through stages of having to deal with some difficult work colleagues. And the first stage was, maybe they're right. Maybe I am an awful person. Maybe I'm doing all these things wrong. And so I need to just isolate myself, not talk to anyone, just keep my head down and get on with it. I think then it moved into the stage of anger, like anger at myself. How am I letting these people make me feel like this? And also angry at them, like how dare they behave this way? And then I think once you get to that stage and then start sharing that with other people, I started talking more to friends. After being isolated and not wanting to talk to anyone about it, I did talk to friends, I did talk to family, I did eventually talk to colleagues saying, look, this is what's happening. And then when you do that and you realize that they say, no, Sam, it's not you, it's them. They've treated this person like this person like this person has gone through it as well. I know exactly what you're going through, and no one thinks any less of you. No one thinks that you're a bad person. We know what they're like. And then that definitely provides some pressure release, and you go, okay. It's just a shame that you have to go through the weeks or the months, whatever it is, of torturing yourself and beating yourself up, thinking that you're the problem when actually you weren't. So I guess one part of that advice is, if you're having to deal with these people constantly being in these situations, have you talked to someone about it? Have you talked to people at work? Have you talked to family? Have you talked to friends? Share what's going on and get their advice, get their opinions, and you might just find that actually other people are going through it as well. Then, once you realize that, you just become more accepting of the situation. I'm not going to change this person or these people, so I just need to do what I need to do to carry on, working hard, doing the best job that I can do, whatever it is. And also kind of coming with that is just the not caring anymore, not caring what they think, not caring, oh, they might be talking about me behind my back and they're saying this and they're probably making stuff up and lying. It's like, whatever, you are secure in the knowledge that you're doing the right thing, and that anyone who knows you well will not believe them, will not be, going along with their story that they're making up in their head. It's really tricky though. It's really tricky, isn't it? But the goal is to, I think, become invincible, isn't it? The goal is to not let people influence your energy, your emotions. That's what we want. It's difficult. It's really hard. It takes training, and we're probably never going to get there so that 100% of the time that's what we're like. But if we can picture that in our head and what that looks like, and experience what it's like to have those minutes, hours, days where you're not affected by the person and you are completely secure in yourself, and you know that you can't change how people act, you can't change what people are saying, all these things that are out of your control, you've got to accept, and you just think, well, what do I need to do? What can I change? What have I got control of? And at the end of the day, the only thing that you've got control of is your thoughts and your patterns and your behavior, isn't it? So we just work towards that. I've had psychologists on the show that say the same thing, that in tricky situations like this, like relationships or work, or maybe going through, some of life's biggest challenges, a death or something like that, a breakup. It's always about thinking, who's the type of person that I want to be in this situation? What are my values? What's important to me? This is a really tough situation. This is a really hard relationship to handle, but what's the type of person that I want to be? How do I want to behave? And when you can get to that place and connect with that, then you're onto something. All you can do is live that out as much as you can. You just behave in the way that you know is right, and you wake up every day thinking, yeah, what's the type of person I want to be? How am I going to handle these people, this situation? Just doing your best that you can. So I hope that's answered that question. I don't know if that was a little bit of a wordy answer, but it's just some thoughts that I had. Another thing though is that balance, isn't it? How do you balance being compassionate with people and calling people out on their nonsense? Because, you know, talking about my situation, these people that were treating me like this and other people as well, they obviously went through something when they were younger. They're obviously having some internal battle going on, and I feel really sorry for them, because I think they must be absolutely miserable to want to be making other people feel this way and to kind of go out of their way to be gossiping and be getting so upset by these tiny little things. You've just got to feel sorry for them, haven't you? It must be a really sad existence. And so you want to be compassionate and you want to be understanding of them. But at the same time, you can't let anyone walk all over you, and you can't let anyone treat you poorly. So, and I don't know where I'm at with that. I don't know where I'm at with treating people with compassion, but also saying, like, F off, basically. Like, this is unacceptable. How dare you be like this? I don't know. I'm not very good with the confrontation and arguing and things, but I'm trying to get better at calling people out on their stuff and having that confidence. But of course, you've got to always treat people with compassion. You've got to be gentle with them and try and be as understanding as you can. But yeah, it feels like a bit of a tightrope walk a lot of the time. Okay. Next question, which I guess is kind of linked, because someone asked me what's my favorite emotional regulation tools or techniques, was the question. And number one for me is breath work, for sure. We know that our emotions influence our breathing, and our breathing influences our emotions. And so when we know about that kind of two-way street and that link, when we know that we can change we can control the way we breathe and choose certain breathing patterns, it can influence how we feel. It can help us feel calmer. It can also help us feel more energized if we need to. It can make us feel more present, whatever it is. So breath work is the thing that really works for me kind of in the moment. If I'm feeling over anxious about delivering some training or jumping on a podcast, whatever it is, then a few slow, deep breaths can really help. Sleep is another instance as well. If I'm finding it difficult to switch off at night, thoughts going around in my head and I just can't quite fall asleep after 15 minutes or whatever it is, then I know that I can turn to some breathwork practices, which sounds like a really over-the-top technical term that we don't really need to use at all, do we? We can use these to slow down, soothe our nervous system, calm down, and that can help us kind of get into the state that we want to be. In that case, it might be calm enough to fall asleep. It might be present and focused enough without being too overexcited to deliver a presentation, training, whatever it is. It could be breathe in for 4, breathe out for 8. It could be triangle breathing, breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4. All of these things, they're just slowing down the breath. They're just making it deeper, and that signals to the body and the brain, it's okay, we're safe, we can be calm, we can relax. So I think breath work is the one for me. But maybe more long-term emotional regulation, I think it's all about prioritizing sleep as well, isn't it? We know how much of a role sleep plays in emotional regulation. I'm sure you have experienced what you feel like the day after a really poor night's sleep, more reactive, more irritable, whatever it is. And we know that deep sleep, the REM stage of sleep, this all contributes to our emotional regulation and our processing. So prioritize sleep. So that means allowing enough time to get enough sleep, but also doing all the things that are really important for sleep hygiene, sleep habits. Have you got a sleep mask? Have you got earplugs? Have you got a routine? Is your bedroom a bit cooler? Have you got the right tog of quilt? All that kind of stuff to set up a good environment so that you're doing everything you can to sleep well as often as possible. We're not going to sleep perfectly 100% of the time. not like Brian Johnson, getting a perfect Whoop sleep score every night, but we can at least make some, we can at least do the best we can to sleep as well as we can as often as possible. So yeah, those are two main things that I think help with emotional regulation. Right, a couple more light-hearted questions, perhaps. The one question I got was, are there any authors that I come back to and I've read more than one book by the same author? One that comes to mind straight away is Yuval Noah Harari. I used to be really into my ancient history. I used to just read book after book about ancient history. And when he released the book Sapiens, that's kind of a bit of a classic. I love that book. Really enjoyed that one. And then since then, he's released Homo Deus and 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. Yeah, just a great writer, really interesting. Another one, Adam Grant. He's released a couple of books, Think Again, Hidden Potential more recently. Really enjoyed both of those books and the way he writes. And Cal Newport as well. His book Deep Work I read a while ago, and then more recently his book Slow Productivity. Fantastic. Just the way that these writers can kind of weave in personal stories about people. It could be famous people from history, but also just general population as well. And then link in the science and the research. It's incredible. When writers do that really well and you just kind of breeze through a non-fiction book and you're learning something, it's just incredible. So those are three authors that spring to mind that I definitely recommend. The next one was, what's my favorite kitchen gadget? Good question. For me, it is my rice cooker. I cook a lot of Indian curries, Thai curries, chilies with rice. And so the rice cooker is a bit of a lifesaver. I'm not very good. I was never very good at cooking rice in a saucepan. I'd always either burn it and get it to stick, or I'd make it too soggy. Whereas a rice cooker, it's just perfect rice every single time. You just put it on, click the button, leave it to it, and yeah, it's just done perfectly every time. So if you haven't got a rice cooker and you like that type of food, highly, highly recommend it. Okay, back into a more deep question. So this question, I didn't quite understand when it was first sent, so I did reply to the person and said, can you explain exactly what you mean? But the question, to kind of paraphrase, was, how do you believe in yourself for the future and not doubt yourself? Like, how do you really believe in that vision that you've got of yourself in the future? Which is an interesting one. It's not like I have 100% belief in myself and confidence or anything like that. But I guess there's some things I reflect on this, and I try to put things in place to increase my confidence and the belief in myself to achieve future goals. So what do I mean? Well, yeah, the first thing, how do I believe in myself for the future? I put things in place to kind of build up evidence. This is something that Chris Williamson on the Modern Wisdom podcast and Alex Hormozy talk a lot about, that you build up evidence of the person that you want to be, and that's where you get your confidence from. You're not just imagining yourself being this confident person. You're actually you're taking the steps. What do I need to do? So if I want to be more confident as a podcast host, I just need to host more podcasts. If I want to be more confident in the gym, I just need to get to the gym more often. How many other different ways could you apply it to your life? You apply those same rules. So don't kind of worry about getting the confidence. You need to start putting things in place, and you need to start taking action. But the fact that this person is even asking that question, that's a really good start, isn't it? If you're saying, how do I believe in myself more? Then surely that's telling you that there's a possibility that you can believe in yourself more, and that you're being reflective enough to think, what do I need to do to be a better person? So you're already on the path to growth and improving yourself. You know that there's something better, and you can envision it. It's a possibility. So I'd say grasp onto that, hold on to that, and then give yourself some time to really connect with that. Like, what is that vision you have for the future? What is it that you want exactly, and why do you want it? Don't just say, I want this. What is it? Why do you want that? And once you kind of really get to the bottom of that can help as well. So yeah, like I said, I've put things in place to try and give myself the evidence that I can believe in myself. So I set up a podcast when I was a primary school teacher. I've got no right to be doing that. I've got no right to be talking to the different guests that I speak to, but I wanted to, and I just got started. I ran a marathon barefoot. This is another example where, how did I have the confidence that I was going to finish that marathon barefoot? I'm really, really not sure, because training didn't go well. I had an inflamed Achilles. I had to stay off my feet. I had to just train on the cross trainer rather than run. The furthest barefoot run I'd done in the lead up to it, the furthest run I'd done, even in trainers, was a half marathon. So I don't know how I thought that I was going to do a marathon barefoot. And, you might tell people I might have told someone before I was going to do it that this is the only training that I've had. Most people would say you need to run 18, 19, 20 miles before you do a marathon, in the lead up. But the furthest I'd run was 13. People might think, just don't even try it. That's a really bad idea. But I know there's something about it that I enjoyed. I enjoyed that kind of delusion almost that I'm going to do this. There's no doubt in my mind that I'm going to do it. I can see myself crossing the finish line. I'm going to make it happen. And so I think that's cool. Like, what lofty goal have you got? What huge goal have you got that you want to believe in yourself, that you can do it? And it might sound crazy, but why not just think really big? Why not just think to yourself, what if I was the most confident person in this situation? What if I had I was absolutely assured that this is going to happen? Then what would it look like? How would you behave? How would you act? I think it's a really useful framing, isn't it? Yeah. Why not do that? Why not set yourself a big goal? Don't tell anyone about it. Just you. Just write it down. In 6 months' time, in a year's time, this is what's going to happen. You don't need to share it on social media. You don't need to share it with friends, family, your partner, anyone. You can just keep it in your mind, and you start putting in the things that you need to put in place to make that happen, and see what happens. It could be really interesting, couldn't it? But yeah, to the person that asked this question, just start building evidence, put things in place, envision who you want to be. And I'm sure that whatever goal it is that you've got, you can do it. You can do it. Okay, let me just take a sip of my coffee. Okay, right, 23 minutes in. Interesting. The last one, like I said, was about 15 minutes long. So this is good. All one take as well. All one take so far. Let's hope I haven't jinxed it. Okay, next question was, what do I like about podcasting? This comes from a fellow podcast host, Sanjay. Appreciate this question, mate. I think what I really like is the variety, for one. The fact that I get to talk to a whole range of different people, neuroscientists, nutritional psychiatrists, running coach, clinical psychologists, all these different people. I love it because I've always been really interested in lots of different things. I think it's always been part of my personality, perhaps why I got into the decathlon, perhaps why I was am a primary school teacher, perhaps why I'm a primary school teacher, because I like the kind of jack of all trades, master of none approach to life. I like to be good at lots of things, but not great at them. I like to know just enough about a lot of things, but not be an absolute expert in one thing. I just like that variety and wide range of topics and experiences and everything. So the podcast seems to be just another outlet for that, where I get to learn about a whole range of topics and think, how does this apply to my life? The other thing, of course, is that the podcast is seemingly helping people. That's why I love it, because it seems to be providing a source of support, comfort, inspiration for people. More and more, I'm getting messages saying, thank you, this has helped me. And it's like, just wow. If I can set something up and devote just a bit of time every week to doing something that helps people, then sounds good to me. The other thing I really like about it is, of course, it puts me out of my comfort zone as well. Like I said before, I've got no right to be a podcast host, but I'm just giving it a go and learning as I do. But yeah, it puts me out of my comfort zone. I have got to hold my own with psychologists and nutritionists and doctors. I don't want to embarrass myself. I don't want to sound like an idiot. So I've got to research, I've got to find things out, I've got to start writing good questions, I've got to adapt to the conversation and see where it takes, the episode. So that's what I really like as well, is that I'm having to do something that is uncomfortable, that makes me nervous, but I'm going to do it anyway. And then kind of linked to that is all the skills that I've built up. That's why I love hosting a podcast, because I'm building up skills that I haven't ever had before, and I wouldn't be building in my job as a teacher. I do everything. It's quite interesting. Some people say, like, if you got someone that helps you do this, do that, whatever, and it's like, no, it's all me. The videos are me, the social media, the preparing for the podcast. I do have help editing the podcast. Ian, legend, he edits the podcast, but apart from that, everything else is me. So yeah, I'm proud of the fact that I've built up these skills of editing videos and researching, and the interviewing skill as well, which is a real skill to be able to hold a conversation and reflect on what the guest has said, and I need to not ask that question now and go somewhere else. Like, it's all good fun. It's all good fun. And then the other question that was linked to this, what do I like about podcasting, but also what's my biggest lesson from talking to all of these amazing guests. And I think the main lesson is that I just don't know anything. That I've just got so much more to learn. And yeah, there's just, you think you know something about a topic, and actually then a guest comes on and they question it, and they say, oh, well, actually. And so the biggest lesson is that, I just don't know anything, and that I need to be flexible and adaptable in my opinions. It means that so much now I don't kind of talk with any finality on anything. I don't say this is the case. It's like, it seems like this is the situation, but it also might be this. Like, of course, there are some things that you can talk with a more definitive answer on, but there are lots of things where it's like, it could be this, but maybe it's slightly different for you, individual differences, all that kind of stuff. But then there are more concrete examples, like protein. My opinion and outlook on protein has just changed so much over the past couple of years. It started with, like, gym bro, got to have loads of chicken and eggs. Then it went to, right, I'm going plant-based, and I just hear that actually protein isn't that important. And so I don't need to worry about protein so much. Then got to the fact that, okay, yeah, maybe I do need to be a bit more careful here. And perhaps actually I'm not getting as much protein as I should be because I'm exercising this intensely. So maybe I need to up it. So I'm going to start taking a protein supplement and being a bit more conscious of the protein sources that I'm getting in my diet. Great. And then the latest thing recently is I have a blood test, and apparently I'm consuming too much protein and my kidneys are being affected kind of negatively, and maybe I need to dial back the protein shakes and stuff. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's so complicated, isn't it? And so protein is one example where just my opinion's constantly changing. I can't talk with any authority in that at all. I've just got to keep adapting to what the experts are telling me and what my own experiences are telling me. Screens is another one. Screens, blue light, sleep. I was the same as lots of people out there saying, if you want to improve your sleep, then you need to turn off screens an hour before bed, because the blue light affects the release of melatonin, and then that means that you might be able to fall asleep, but it's affecting your deep sleep. And it's actually Michael Gradazar over in Australia, this research is saying that no, actually it's not the screen so much, it's what is on the screen. It's not the screen that's affecting you, it's not the blue light, it's the fact that you are looking at work emails in bed while you're trying to fall asleep. It's the fact that you're scrolling through TikTok, watching these kind of super, provocative or angry or adrenaline-fueled videos, whatever it is. That's what's preventing you from falling asleep, but actually it's not the screens or the blue light per se. That's my understanding at the moment. Again, I don't know for sure, but that seems to be the case. And it also kind of goes with my experience, though, that I am perfectly happy and I seem to sleep well when I fall asleep with my laptop in bed, watching Friends or the US Office or something. And so, when that research came out, it kind of made me feel a little less guilty about the way my sleep habits. But there you go. So yeah, biggest lesson, that I don't really know anything and I need to adapt and keep learning. The other thing, is that just how good people are and how generous people are. The people that have been a guest on the podcast that are authors. They've got huge followers on a huge following on social media. They really don't need to say yes to coming on my little podcast, but they do, just out of the generosity of their spirit. They just want to help people. So many people out there just want to help people, not for any financial gain, not for any exposure. They are just interested in helping people. And so many of my guests, that's what they're all about. That's why they say yes, because they're like, yeah, we just want to get this information out there. We just want to help more people. And so you just go, wow, these people are so generous and so, just understanding, just generous with their time. So I appreciate all of my guests. Thank you. If any of you are listening, people are good. People are good. And so maybe that teaches you also that, take a bit of a leap of faith and reach out to people and ask them to, we get so nervous, don't we, about asking people for help because we think they're going to say no, they're going to be too busy, whatever it is. I think another lesson from hosting a podcast is people are good and they want to help and they're more than willing to give up their time. So yeah, reach out to people. That's another lesson. Okay, I think, let me just check my little notebook here. I'm pretty sure those are all the main questions that I wanted to get through. Let me just double check. Yes, I believe they are. Okay, so 32 minutes, not bad. So that was Ask Me Anything, episode number 2. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed looking through the questions. Lots of them were thoughtful, wide-ranging, so I really appreciate that. Really appreciate this kind of community that we are building up. The question about fitness and challenges, it makes me think of the fact that so many of my kind of social media community, you're so encouraging and supportive of this mission, but also some of my personal goals as well. When I did the High Rocks in Bilbao and I got a time that I was really disappointed with, so many people reached out and said, don't worry, Sam, like, you're going to come back from this. These things happen. You've got it. And it's like, these are just strangers. You are just strangers that I've never met in person, but you're showing your support. And I really, really appreciate that. And then in Copenhagen more recently, when I got a PB, so many again reached out and said, well done, you did it. And yeah, I just really appreciate it. So I really appreciate the personal support with things that I've got going on, but I really appreciate the support for the podcasts as well. I appreciate the people that have followed the show, that have rated the show, and people that are messaging as well, saying this episode was great. Please do more of that because it keeps me motivated to keep going. And yeah, it means that I can hopefully grow the podcast, reach out to more guests and reach more people and hopefully help more people as well. So yeah, appreciate you all. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be bringing you another episode with a real guest, a proper guest, not just, not just me, someone that actually knows what they're talking about. They'll be coming on again soon. Okay, cheers.